everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity, and we have another great episode for you. It is with a gentleman who we have visited with before. His name is A.J. Croce, and if you're a baby boomer, Croce sounds like a familiar name, doesn't it? Well, it should, because A.J.'s dad was the late, great Jim Croce of Bad Bad Leroy Brown, I've Got a Name, I'll Have to Tell You I Love You in a Song, on and on and on. Amazingly, his dad's career was only 18 months long, and yet his music is as popular today as it was over 40 years ago. Actually, over 50 years ago. Can you believe that? Anyway, this is our second time chatting with AJ, and he is doing a slightly tweaked version of a tour that I saw him on a few years ago called Croce Plays Croce, and it's where he plays his dad's great songs as well as a bunch of his own. AJ's a very successful artist in his own right, musician, songwriter, you name it, he does it. And I can tell you, as one who has personally been to one of his concerts, you're in for a real treat if you can make it to one of his. He's touring all over the country. He does each and every year. I encourage you very strongly to catch one of his shows. When you do, you're going to come away full of nostalgia, full of memories, and just wondering what could have been if his dad hadn't passed in that tragic plane crash all those years ago. So, as always, please hit like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and share this interview with friends who you think might enjoy hearing from Jim Croce's son or hearing about AJ's music as a solo artist. As you can tell, he has an album out called Heart of the Eternal. It's behind me. It is phenomenal. It's not all Jim Croce sounding music, let me tell you that. It is a nice buffet of several different genres that all fit very nicely together. I'll leave it at that. Go check it out, and I encourage you to buy a physical copy of it. So until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. All right.
Can you hear
Mr.
me?
Croce, I can
How
hear
you
you
doing?
great.
All right.
It's been a while. It's been about 4 years. Was it something I said?
Reverse vice.
Yeah. Pardon me?
I said reverse vice.
Yeah, no, not at all. In fact, I felt really good about myself after you and I last spoke. I saw you in concert, but then I can't remember if it was before or after the concert. CBS did that interview with you, and I thought, ha, I beat CBS, so I felt really good about it. So, but well, man, thanks for taking the time. I know you're a busy man, and
Absolutely, my pleasure.
I've been wanting to chat with you for a while, especially when the new album came out, and I want to get to that in a moment. But I know last time you and I spoke, we talked a lot about the show you put on, Croce Plays Croce, and so I just wanted to kind of, now that I got to see the show since you and I last spoke, first of all, and I'm not saying this to patronize you, it was literally one of the best shows I ever saw. It was not anything like anything I'd seen before, because I'd never seen anybody's kids pay tribute to their parents in any way, shape, or form in a concert format, and so I really didn't know what to expect. But the way you put that all together, man, and how you wove in and out of the video, your band, everything was just top notch. I know everybody in the crowd in Maryville College loved the show. Everybody was buzzing about it afterwards. So my hat's off to you. I know you're still kind of doing some flavor of that. Has it changed any since then?
Yeah, it's always evolving. Yeah, compared to the anniversary tour, which is the way it started, was with the 50th anniversary tours. It's really, there's a lot of, obviously there's a limited number of songs of my father's, but how I put them in, which songs are featured is changing, which stories I tell to which songs are changing. It's really a flexible show. I have a lot of room to improvise, and as always, it's a framework. It's a of songless, basically. I have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and from that point, I'm able to just kind of work with the audience and feel what's right. And I probably couldn't have done it when I started touring 35 years ago. Not only did I not have the interest, but it was a matter of being a capable performer, an experienced performer, and I think it's evolved in a really really fun way, which is why people are coming 4, 5, 6. I've had people come 15 times to these shows, and
Wow.
and every night's different. Every night we still take requests. If I haven't played a hit you wanted to hear, or one of my songs, or one of or a deeper cut, or whatever it is, people shout it out every night, and I make the space and the time to listen to them, and to hear what they want to hear, and it's fun. It's really fun.
After doing these shows for several years now, do you feel that you've are bringing your own personality and musicianship into these performances? I feel like you
I
do,
always do.
just
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, I always do. I always did. Um, you know, I've had a lot more time to practice than my dad. So as a musician who started, playing jazz and blues, and came up with B.B. King and Ray Charles and James Brown and
Hmm.
Aretha and these people that I played with, the Nevilles, and I had the privilege of having the inspiration, the hands-on inspiration of these heroes, not only of mine but of my father's.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of a curious thing. I had the opportunity to become a better musician. I had the opportunity to become uh, have broader inspirations. I've had the opportunity to work with different colors in my color palette.
Hmm.
Because I've lived longer. I'm 25 years older than my dad at this point, and I think it shows in the concert. I think you see the tribute to his musical legacy. I will never take anything away from that, but you'll
Right.
also hear a level of musicianship that wasn't there because he hadn't gotten there yet.
Right.
And
Right.
and 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 I'm proud to share that. I'm not trying to uh, outdo him. I'm not trying to do
Right.
anything other than really bring the legacy of two generations of American musicians to an audience, and have a ton
Hmm.
of fun while I'm doing it. And the band has fun because we switch it up every night. Nothing's played to a click track. We're playing without a net every night. We have to. And still the songs that my dad wrote resonate. And so
Hmm.
I do these tours. I've done these tours for the last few years. I'll do a few weeks in the spring, and a few weeks in the fall, and in between I get to do all of the different projects that I like to do, the collaborations and the co-writes, and playing on other people's records, and writing, and just remaining creative the best I can.
You're still in the Nashville area, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just there for the Tommy Prophet big extravaganza that was at the Bridgestone. Man, that was amazing.
Oh, good.
How well, first of all, to your point about you've been doing your dad's music longer than he did his music, and that's kind of
Yeah.
a mind blower for old farts like me. That I think of Elvis, and he's now been gone longer than he was alive, and
Oh,
and,
of
and that
course.
whole
Right,
thing.
right.
So that's got to be a bit of a you've settled into it, but do you see that realization hitting your crowds, and your own fans are going
I
like, "Holy crap!"
oh every I mean I've done this since 2021. My father's career was 18 months, and there's a
Right.
point in the show where I let people know. It took 18 months to put this show together, let alone to to write, record, and tour all of those songs. So it's
Hmm.
very little can get done in 18 months anymore.
That's true.
And so when we uh, when we look at it in that light, it's something unique. But um, I don't think that that really makes any difference in the scheme of things. The bottom line is that this amazing collection of songs were written in a really short period of time, and
Hmm.
they're still played every day, and people are still listening to the music and buying the music and requesting the music and coming to this particular show.
Hmm.
And I never in a million years thought this is how people would come to discover me as an artist, uh, but but it happens.
By the way, I meant to tell you this the last time you and I spoke, but I'm good friends. Well, I'd say good friends, good acquaintances with Rob Heimall, who designed the "I Got a Name" album cover. He did all
Oh,
the
wow.
graphics and all that, and he's got a great book out covering all the album covers he's worked on. He worked on The Doors and Barry Manilow, and just Carly
Wow.
Simon, all sorts of great guy. It's a great book. I think you might enjoy it, and the part about "I Got a Name" that he shares in the book is especially poignant. So I'd
Very
highly
sweet.
recommend it, and I can put you guys together if you ever want to chat about it. But
Thank you so
I,
much.
I this album of yours, wow! I like I said, I wanted to chat with you when it first came out, and as I was telling Natalie before you come on, I've been my dad's caregiver for the last couple of years. He just passed a couple of months ago, so
Sorry.
sometimes my wish list of who I get to talk to, I forget to actually wish out loud for it. So I
Yeah.
think that's what happened when the album first dropped. But I really love the mix of vibe that you have in here. I mean, of course, I hear tinges of your dad, but man, I you come through so strong. Your writing, your sound, and all that. I think from you know on request to now, I see some really or hear some really distinct evolving going on there, while at the same time hearing some of your influence. I even thought I heard a little bit of Billy Joel in there on one of the songs. It just,
Not
yeah.
at all. I
Tell
mean,
me
that's
about
not
this
where it
album.
came from. It's not where it came from. I draw from a lot of influences. It's always been what I do. From the first album, almost 35 years ago now, to this one, which is the 11th, and it is, um, you know, I'll go through phases where I'm drawing from some of these sources and some of those, but it's really diverse, from old jazz and blues and rock and roll and R&B and soul music and Latin music and New Orleans music and um, it's all these different eras and styles within the genres. They've all played a role. As I'm a record collector. I mean, I love listening to music, and I love so many different types of music. So it's bound to show up, and I'm hypercritical when I'm writing because I go, okay, well, I can hear that. Does that sound too much like this, or does that sound too much like that? Everything sounds like something.
Yeah,
There's nothing is created in a vacuum. Everything comes from somewhere, and oftentimes someone will hear something in one of my songs and they'll think it's from the 70s, but no, it was actually came from a 30s piece, and there's actually maybe a little bit of a train of a history that goes from that point where they heard it to a point before it, or and dating back, because it's everyone stands on the shoulders of giants.
that's right. That's right. Well, again, what I love about this album is, a lot of times, you buy someone's album and it's like almost like buying a shirt, and you see the shirt, it may be a red with a light blue pinstripe like this one, and then you have another one just like it that's white with black, and another one with yellow and red, but it's the same shirt, just different colors. And a lot of albums are that way. You hear the same kind of melodic or vibe or whatever in there. Yours is, I mean, that's one thing that made my ears perk up. It's like, okay, this is a buffet here.
Yeah, I hope they all are in a way. I really
Mm-hmm.
do. I hope that everything that I do is has that element to it. I hope that that it isn't so different that they can't live together comfortably, but that
Right.
they're different enough that just like a buffet or tapas, you're gonna have a little taste of this and a little taste of that, and
Mm-hmm.
it gives you, hopefully, you're satisfied in the end and full. you know.
Exactly. Well, how was this album different for you from a songwriting process and perspective, as well as putting the whole thing together? Was there any marked differences on this one?
There were a couple, and it takes a little time to to think about what they are. You got to listen back to it and go, oh, okay, here's, I think there were one of the things that was unique about this record, was that all but one song, I believe, I composed the music first. Whether I was wrote the lyrics with someone else, and it was a co-write like I did with Gary Nicholson on a few things. I had already written the music, and the only song that was kind of written in real time was the one that I wrote with John Oates. And so Reunion was written. He came over to my place. We sat down, and he told me this wonderful story about meeting, going to see his father who had turned 100 years old. This is 2.5 years ago. He had turned 100 years old, and he said, John, I'm ready for my reunion. I've had a wonderful life, and I'm ready to see the people I love and have lost. And he came over, and he said, he told me this story, and I thought it's really a beautiful idea for a song. And and so that's what we did. We sat down and wrote it right there, which is the way I've
Wow.
always kind of written. Um, this album is a little different because I had the music for everything first, and in some cases I was writing some of it on the road while I was out playing the first incarnation of Croce Plays Croce, and some of it I wrote while I was at briefly at home in Nashville, um,
Mm-hmm.
and but it all sort of developed the music, the composition sort of developed in their own way. Sometimes it was because it was the instrument I was playing and it was inspiring me to write something, playing through a particular amp, like in the way that I wrote the music for I Got a Feeling. In the case of same kind of flip side, similar tonalities, but totally different genre wise. Like I Got a Feeling is in that world of the Chambers Brothers and psychedelic soul,
Mm-hmm.
Shuggy Otis, and that kind of stuff. Whereas Hey Margarita, which also has a similar guitar tone, is really coming from a totally different place. It's more like Link Ray meets Hubert Sumlin. So you've
Mm-hmm.
got this uh, kind of funky lead line on it that I'm playing on guitar, and I get to sort of imagine what it's like, backing up Howlin' Wolf, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's kind of a Chess Records meets Link Ray vibe, you know?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and then it was just I took that music over to my friend Gary Nicholson's house, who I've been co-writing with for 30 years, on and off, mostly on, and we wrote the lyrics in probably 20 minutes. You know, there wasn't a lot to it. There was a lot of nitpicking on my part to make sure that it felt right all the way through, and changing this word or that word. But um, it was we you know we wrote the thing in no time at all, and it's basically it's a blues song, you know,
Hmm.
and just inspired by a mid 20th century Russian novel, like so many other blues songs.
Yeah, all of them, right? Are there any particular tracks that you feel are especially personal or vulnerable on this album?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Didn't You Want That Too was a really personal song for me. And and Finest Line was a really personal song for me. And I was really precious with writing the lyrics to Finest Line. It was one of those where it had to remain simple. I started writing it on guitar, and I moved it to piano at the last minute. And when I did, it just came to life as a piece of music and as a song. And it's very personal. I mean, we all lose people that are close to us in this life, and it's just part of life. And and I think it was that recognition of that fine line between where we are and where they are, you know, and just that recognition of the beauty of always really being close um, to that other side. You know,
Yeah.
and so it was very personal. Best You Can was personal in the sense it was really was like the advice I want to give to myself, or the advice I'd want to give to my kids, you know. um, and and you know there's a bunch of stuff on here that has that emotion. I think Reunion is personal. um,
Hmm.
but but um, but yeah, those are ones that really kind of have that emotion to me.
I hear
say that, when they wrote a particular song, uh-oh, my microphone messed up here. When they write a particular
song they have one style or vibe or focus on it, like it could be just an acoustic thing, and then they get in the studio and it comes out as a big rocker or a heavy blues or whatever you name your there's infinite variations. Was there anything like that happen with you on this album where conceptually you had it one way? You talked about the one where you wrote it on guitar, and then when you went to the piano it opened up. Was there anything where there was such a radical change? Would that be it, or was there another song on there that was like
Yeah,
that?
and not really, because I don't usually have a budget for radical change. I need to have I have I really have to take my time in the studio pretty seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And while I have a lot of fun in there, I've not had a budget that allowed me to just camp out. So when I go
Yeah,
into the studio, I have everything arranged.
good.
I leave room in every song for happy accidents. I leave room for a day for overdubs on songs that I wasn't expecting. So I do set aside that day to be able to make those changes and allow for that to
Mm-hmm.
happen. Um, but it was, you know, there are always little happy accidents. You know, there was
Mm-hmm.
a, you know, on Complications of Love, when, you know, I had initially, I just thought I would have a great guitar player come in and play those Django lines. But
Mm-hmm.
but not, the two guitar players that were there, that's not what they do. And so it ended up having to be me. And so, so it's funny. Um, I had to find a way to, play it in real time because I'm going to have to play it live. So I need to be able to play this stuff for real. There's no trickery going on. Um, and, um, it's, I want things to be, deceptively simple. I want things to feel simple, and then when someone sits down to play it, they're like, "Oh wow, there are these other layers that are going on," And
Yeah.
when the listener listens to it, they listen to it a second time, and they're going to hear something else, and after that, and hopefully they hear something in the lyrics, and they hear something in the music that helps to make it special more than one time.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Is there, I'd never ask what's your favorite song because that's like picking your favorite child, and we're really not supposed to do that. Um, but is there one song on the album that you would point to as a calling card, or as Chris Stamey from the DBs said, the gateway drug for the
Yeah.
rest of the album?
Geez, no, they're not on this one. Not on this album. I think each song lives in its own world, but there's definitely an A and a B side, in the sense that, like I mentioned, I Got a Feeling and Hey Margarita, they live in the same world, you know, and I think that there are there every song kind of has its partner in a way, um, and I tried to pay attention to that so that each side of it, because I'm thinking of it as an LP, so one side is going to flow like this, and that's going to be the last song, and the other side's going to flow like that, and when it ends, I want you to feel like you're ready to flip it over and take another listen. um,
Yeah.
you know Sometimes that's the way it is. Sometimes, Chris Stamey is right. There's a song that kind of informs the album. And I've
Hmm.
had I've had a number of albums like that where there's a song and a theme and a concept and a tonality and a groove that I feel is really, it may not sum the whole album up, but it does a pretty good job. It's kind of your jumping off point.
Right.
And
Right.
with this, it was just I just didn't have that.
Interesting. Well, you've spent decades in music. And a lot of people, their music is shaped later in life due to major events. But you kind of started from that basis point at too young of an age with the loss of your father, and some trauma events after. How do you? So most people don't get to define this maybe as early on as you may have, but how do you personally define success now compared to maybe earlier in your career, or has that always been a consistent definition for you?
Yeah, it's always been consistent. Getting to do what I love, um, to wake up and do what I love is success.
Yeah.
Um, whether I'm playing the dream venue that I wished I could play. This business is like a roller coaster, and sometimes you're doing really great and you're playing big places to big audiences and reaching millions of people on TV and radio, and then other times you're not, and you feel like you can't get arrested. All through every stage of my career, I've always felt, that I was successful at what I do because I get to play music for a living.
Hmm.
And whether it's playing in a bar or playing at the Ryman, headlining and selling out, I don't, I in the end, yeah, it's fun to play for a lot of people, but being able to do what I love and connect with an audience, that's the gift.
Cool. Have you played the Tennessee Theater? I'm
Yeah.
here in the Nashville or Knoxville area. So you've
Uh-huh.
played the Tennessee before? I didn't
Hmm.
know that. So you already know what that's a great place. I love
Yeah.
that theater.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then years ago, I played the other cool little theater, and this is going
The
back
Bijou.
about 30 years to the Bijou. Yeah. Um, and then played in the area many times. But those and the one you mentioned in the beginning, yeah, I that was at the university or at the college, I believe.
Yeah, Maryville College.
Yeah,
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 that's where I saw you at. But
yeah.
which
And
that's the only time I've been in there, and that's a great little venue there.
my
I
only
like
time
it.
there too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I recall it being fun.
yeah. The acoustics were amazing, but they say the Bijou's haunted. I don't know if if you experienced that or not, but
I'll tell you,
I
I play a lot of haunted theaters.
I didn't write this down, but this just popped in my mind. Have you ever played anywhere where your dad played, and was there anything unique about that?
Absolutely. Um, um, played a lot of places my dad played, and a lot of the same stages and over the years. And the first one that was kind of the one that was most kind of impactful to me was on my first tour of Europe. My first stop was playing at the Paradiso, which was his last gig in Europe, was at the Paradiso in Amsterdam,
Oh,
and that was my first gig. My career really took off in Europe, in with my first album, which was released in '93. And even though it was kind of put in the jazz section here and blues section and whatnot, it was not. It was in the pop section over there. So for whatever reason, it had a little more traction and reached a much broader audience. So when I got there, there was already a immediate fan base, and it was it was sold out. And being able to, like, my first experience playing in Europe was at the Paradiso, where
mm,
my father's last gig was there. And so yeah, that one was specifically special.
I can imagine. What do you hope? Wrapping this up here, what do you hope fans take away from this tour when they come to see you? I would imagine you'll be doing some songs from this album,
Mhm.
but from the Croce Plays Croce piece of that as
Yeah,
well.
of
What do
course.
you hope fans walk away from with this?
I I think joy. I mean, that's the thing. I have so much fun when I'm performing this, and I invite the audience to be a part of it. There is the initial piece that a lot of people come for, if they're not familiar with me already, is because of nostalgia and because of my father's music, and I respect that. Um, I walk on stage, and for those people who haven't seen me, that element of nostalgia, that thing that they've held on to from the past, becomes very real, and it becomes present, and it becomes three-dimensional. And um and from that point on, it's my job to not let them down, because that is such a powerful place to be, and such a beautiful starting point. um,
Mm-hmm.
at, After that, and I've invited them in to be a part of my musical odyssey every night. And the band is so good. This band is so good. And we had a couple turnovers this year, and the new players have just been, and singers, just unbelievable. And so um, it's made it fun for the rest of us in the group, things evolve, to just have as much fun, hopefully, as the audience.
Well, I think they will. If the show I saw was any indication, and I think it is, and to your point earlier where you talked about people seeing you umpteen times, I know they won't be disappointed. I'm looking forward to catching the show in March when you're here in Knoxville, and maybe we can bump elbows or something before.
I
the
would
show.
love it, man. Absolutely, come on back.
Too. All right, will do. Well, listen, right. AJ, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for taking the time, and good luck on tour. Good luck, continued luck with this album, and I will see you in March.
Great. See you then, man. Thanks again.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been another fun-filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quinton Hope. Quinton is spelled Quinten, and Hope is Hope. And you can find out more about Quinton at quintonhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2025.